To start and run your own successful business, whether it's a side business or a full-time one, you need to think and behave like an entrepreneur and a business owner. But if you've spent your entire career as an employee, like I did for 15 years at my job, then you never really had to learn how to think or behave like an entrepreneur, right? So now, how do you expect yourself to be able to run a successful business as an entrepreneur if you're still thinking like an employee? You can't. There are fundamental shifts that need to happen as you transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. Because as you'll hear in today's video, some of the things and many of the things that actually make you successful in your job right now or have made you successful in your job in the past will be the very things that stand in the way of your success as an entrepreneur. How do I know this? Well, I was an employee, as I said, for 15 years. And I thought by the time that I left my work after 15 years of learning and being employed and all this commitment and all these achievements, that of course I'm going to be a great entrepreneur. But I can tell you honestly, I was a great employee before I left work, and I was a terrible entrepreneur when I started my business because I didn't understand these four key shifts and transitions that I had to make in my mind and in my behavior to be able to grow my business. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you these four shifts that you too need to start making, whether you've already transitioned from employee to entrepreneur, or if you're still daydreaming about it while you're sitting at your full-time job, or you started on the side. Wherever you are in this journey, this video will be very helpful for you. The first shift is all around the multiple hats you need to start wearing at work once you start your own business. Now, in your job as an employee, you usually have a job title and a job description that kind of covers what you do. Now, because I was in the corporate world for all this time, I know that nobody just does their job title or whatever it says in that short blurb about your job. I know that we all end up doing more things than are tasked or shown in the job description, and that we do end up wearing multiple hats sometimes at work. I went through that as well. But I want you to notice that even if you are or you were wearing multiple hats in your job, that it was all kind of related to your actual job. Now, this is different once you become an entrepreneur, because the minute that you made the decision to start your own business, you also made the decision to become the CEO, to become the marketer, to become the finance manager, to become the salesperson, to become the assistant, and to become the coach and the creator. There's so many different roles that you need to play once you start your own business, especially if you're starting on your own. Now, I didn't get that from the very beginning. So I was always focusing on getting better at my job because I was thinking of my job. My job was a coach. My job was to run workshops. So I focused all of my attention on that. And I forgot that I also need to be the marketer. I also need to be the PR person. I also need to manage my finances. And as I started understanding that, that's when the shifts toward more success started happening. The second shift is all around your leadership. Now, even if you are or were a leader in your company or you held a managerial position, when you become an entrepreneur and a business owner, it requires a different way of leading yourself and leading others. And I've broken it down into three buckets. Bucket number one is self-leadership. And this really takes leadership to a whole new level. Because now, as an entrepreneur and an owner of your own business, no one's telling you what to do. No one's giving you goals that you have to achieve. No one's following up with you. No one's making sure that you're staying on track. Now, all of these things have to be done by one person, and that person is you. So self-leadership is the first bucket that is so different. Of course, when you're an employee, you have to practice commitment and you have to practice self-discipline. But there are forces that support you with that. When someone's always following up with you or telling you what your targets are or encouraging you, acknowledging you, all of these things happen when you're in a job. But when you go out on your own, you have to be that person for yourself. The second bucket of leadership is thought leadership. Because as an entrepreneur, you are starting a whole new thing. You're starting a business, you're creating something that didn't exist before. And now I don't mean that it has to mean that you're inventing something that no one's ever heard of. But even if you are offering a service or product that many other people are offering, it's still going to be different because of you, because you are who you are. Your experiences, your life, your values, your beliefs, all of these things will come through your personal brand and whatever it is that you're selling. And in order to stand out in a very crowded market, you need to be someone who's not just teaching, you need to be someone who is a thought leader, who makes people think in a new way, who makes people connect different dots together. I talked about that in depth in a video that I'll refer you to here, and I'll leave a link to it underneath this video for you to go watch after this one, where I talk about key principles as well for creating content and messaging that will get people really attracted to you and bring them a step closer to buying from you. So thought leadership is a very important part of becoming an entrepreneur, especially an online entrepreneur. And the third bucket is team leadership. Now, this doesn't have to happen from the beginning. I still don't have a full-time team in my business. I work with virtual assistants and I outsource projects, and I work with video editors on part-time basis. And that also requires leadership. Because at the end of the day, in its simplest way possible, when you are a leader in your job at a company, then you're leading yourself and your team towards the vision of that company. When you become an entrepreneur, you're leading yourself and eventually maybe your team towards the vision of you, the vision of your own business, of your own dreams. And that's a completely different kind of leadership. The third shift is all around promotion. And this is a big topic and one that I honestly didn't expect to experience. But if you're working in a company, whether you're in marketing or sales or business development or any role that requires you to promote and somehow, whether it's directly or indirectly, sell for the business. That was my experience. I was always in communications, marketing, and PR. And if I was to give you my job description in just a one-liner, my job was to make my boss and my company famous. And I was very good at that job and I was very proactive. I would reach out to amazing publications to get my boss on the cover. I would reach out to newspapers to get them to cover a full page on our new product. I would reach out in networking events and talk about our business. I had no problem with that whatsoever. But when I started my own business, and maybe you're realizing that right now if you've already started, or you will realize it soon when you start, especially with a personal brand, because now you're not just promoting the business. The business is around you. So you're selling, whether it's your coaching or your courses or your programs or your services, it's all around you and your skills, of course, but that's still you. And that requires you to promote, because when we talk about success in business and when we talk about growing our business, what we're actually saying is making money in the business. So you can be the best human in the world, you can be the best coach, you can be the best teacher, you have the best product ever. But if people don't know about it because you haven't promoted it, what good is this coaching or teaching or product? Nobody knows about it. They need to hear about it. And of course, I realized that early on. I need to promote my business, right? But somehow it was very difficult. Although I had the skills, I knew how to talk, I knew how to write a press release, I knew how to do interviews, I knew all of these things. I knew how to run ads, but run an ad with my picture on it to talk about my course or my experience, that brought up so many feelings of imposter syndrome. And who am I to say that? And we've talked about it many times on this channel. If you've missed that, then definitely go watch this video over here, where I talk to you about my experience with overcoming imposter syndrome. And I gave different ways that you too can help yourself through this process. If you're feeling it, that's completely normal. Every single person in the world experiences that in their lives. But when you start running your own business, this experience becomes so much more apparent, because now you need to sell yourself. You're no longer selling a product or a service for another company or another person. So this will require a different set of skills, and this will require a lot of inner work and personal development, which is honestly the best part about being an entrepreneur, is the growth that you have to go through on this journey. Have you noticed how much the light has changed today? It's because it's a very cloudy day and my office has a big window. So I apologize if the video is looking a little bit weird, but it was sunny when we started and now it's very cloudy and it looks like it's going to rain. Now on to the fourth shift. And in my opinion, the most important shift of all. And that is the shift in mindset. That is the shift from employee mindset to entrepreneur mindset. Because if you think about it, whatever makes you successful in your job as an employee, whatever makes you accepted, acknowledged, applauded, are not the things that will make you accepted and acknowledged and applauded as an entrepreneur. You know, the things that you had to do, following the rules, follow orders, stand in line, ask for permission, do all of these things in this order. And while these things may have made you an A+ employee at your company, these are not the same things that will get you noticed and help you grow your business as an entrepreneur. Because now you're not following rules, you're creating rules. Now you're creating something that did not exist in the past. And you are leading this innovation that starts in your mind, a vision that's starting in your mind, into reality. And rules don't apply here. Asking for permission is the last thing you want to do. This was a mistake that I made that I didn't realize that I was making, which is I constantly waited for permission. I don't know from who, sometimes from my husband. Like, do you like this video? Should I post it? Or from my friends who are not in an online business or coaches or don't have experience in that. So their opinions aren't really the right opinions to seek. But somehow I always sought opinions in the beginning. I always waited for someone to give me permission because I was stuck in the employee mindset. I was waiting and waiting for someone to tell me this is the right thing to do, to tell me you're allowed to do this, you're allowed to say this, because my boss used to tell me that before. I used to be outspoken in PR, and my boss would sometimes help me tone it down a little bit. So I always knew that even if I wrote something that's very bold, he had to review it eventually. If it's too bold, he'll stop me. But now I look at my own things and I'm like, should I say that or shouldn't I say that? And then I look around and I'm like, nobody's going to give me permission. So this is something that you must understand too. You're no longer asking for permission from anyone. You're no longer following anybody else's rules. Now it's your rules and your business. As I reflect back on the years that I've been running my business until now and all of the lessons that I've learned, these are maybe some of the biggest shifts that happened in my mind and in my mindset. But of course, there's so much more where that came from. So if you enjoyed today's video, let me know in the comments and I can talk about these things a little bit more, because honestly, I wish that I knew these things from the beginning. They seem obvious to me now, but I didn't know, and that stopped me. And I know that my business would have taken off way sooner if I had understood these shifts that I needed to make from being an amazing employee to being also an amazing entrepreneur. These shifts have to happen if you want to grow your business. Now, if you're thinking of starting your business on the side, then you should definitely watch this video over here, and I'll also leave a link to it underneath this video, where I talk to you about what you actually need to do while you're still at your job to start building your business on the side. So I'm sure you'll enjoy that if this is something that you are interested in doing or exploring. Now, one final resource I'll leave you with is a free training, a 30-minute training, where I walk you through a backwards way of achieving any financial goal. Now, the goal that I've set in this particular training is $1,000 in your business, and how to break this down from a number into actual steps that you need to take right now to start making this money within a few days from watching the video, as many of the people who attended this training told me. So you can download this free training from the link underneath this video, watch it right now, or watch it later, because it will be in your inbox as soon as you click on the link underneath this video. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. I talked a lot more about myself and about my story, and I'm planning on sharing more and more of that, because I realize as I'm working with more clients and talking to more of my audience over on Instagram and sometimes here on YouTube, that a lot of people are going through the same things that I went through. And I thought this part of my story was not relevant. I just wanted to teach the strategies and the tactics that I've learned, but I realized that mindset has so much to do with it. And I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am or where I hope to even get to in the future without learning these mindset things. And that's why I'm sharing more of my story. So I really hope you've enjoyed this, you've benefited from this and got value out of today, and I'll see you next week.